hope you enjoy it.
Hi, so my name's Fraser. What's your name?
Kenny.
Kenny, nice to meet you. Just for the cameras, I've literally just grabbed you across here. You don't know what's about to happen, and we haven't set anything up. Okay, good. So I've got a deck of cards, and I'm no good with sleight of hand or traditional sort of tricks that you might have seen on TV with cards. But the reason I carry a deck of cards is because it's a convenient way for me to carry around 52 different symbols, and these images just allow me to get inside people's heads. So I'll show you what I mean right now. So in a moment, I want you to take the deck, and I want you to just spread the deck so that the faces are towards you. So I'll just give these a shuffle. So I'm going to look away as you do this. Just remember the first card you see. So just spread through the deck. And remember the first card you see from somewhere near the middle. And then when you're done, just close the deck and shuffle the deck. But it's essential I don't see any of the faces, so I'm going to stay facing away. And then when you're done, just place the deck here. Good. So just to recap, you've shuffled the deck.
Yep.
At no point did I see the faces of the cards. I was looking away. So there's no way I can know the order of this deck. So there's no way I should be able to know what card you just looked at from the middle. Okay. So just look at me and just focus on this card for me. So be honest with me, did you think of a different card before this and then change to this one? So you've actually got two cards, right? Okay. So this is harder if there's two cards fighting for the same space. So what I want you to do now is just change in your mind mentally between each of these two cards. So, and just keep changing as much as you want, and wherever you want to, just stop on one of these cards.
Okay.
Okay, so just focus on this one. Just put the other one to the back of your mind for now. So I'm going to go with this. So because there are two cards, just for the viewers at home, just say out loud the card that you just stopped on.
Queen of clubs.
Queen of clubs, okay. So I wouldn't normally try to get 2 for 2, but I'll try and get the other one now. So just go back to the other one and just focus on this. So this is a black card.
Yep.
Just open your mouth slightly. Just in your mind, imagine saying the suit. So it's a soft sound, a spade.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with this. And again, just for the camera and people at home.
2 of spades.
2 of spades. So I got the Queen of clubs, 8 of spades, so I was close with that one. So nearly 2 for 2, but thanks for doing that.
Thank you very much.
So you've just seen a performance of the King's Force from mine and Ross Taylor's limited edition book, Second Coming. You may notice that I missed slightly and was off by one on one of the cards. This was actually intentional. Some of the time I feel that it's nice to miss slightly on the card that would be on the face of the deck. And this just helps create the disconnect in the audience members' minds or the spectator's mind that I couldn't have possibly seen the face card. So this is something that I might just throw in now and then, and I just have to judge the situation and how skeptical I think my participant is going to be to then still create the credible performance. So usually I would just hit dead on with this, but I hope you enjoyed it. So now that you've seen the performance, hopefully you'll be slightly ahead of me within this one ahead section because you know what to look for now. But there's a couple of nice subtleties that go into making this such a nice effect. And I feel that this is how it should look essentially. You're getting certain moments for free that fit the effect that you're performing, and everything is congruent theatrically. I think that this looks as clean as possible in terms of how you'd want it to look. Literally the participant is handed a shuffled deck, they spread through and they think of a card. But what's beautiful is the way this is set up is that it allows you this free hit of seemingly knowing the moment at which they had 2 cards in their mind. So you pick up on the fact and seemingly catch them out that they actually thought of 1 card and then changed, and then you can either nail 1 card or 2. So just to run through this real quick, I say to the spectator, in a moment I want you to just spread through the cards so that the faces are towards you, just like this. And at this point, I'm secretly noting the card that's on the face. And this is going to be my force card, essentially, that allows me to get 1 ahead in a moment. I then do a false shuffle, milking the bottom card, so just retaining that and dragging it over. So to the audience and the spectator and everyone watching, it just indirectly states that this is a shuffled deck and I couldn't know the order. So I say, so I want you to just focus on the first card you see And this line is delivered as I hand the deck towards the spectator. So what they see is, in a moment, I want you to just spread through the cards faces towards you, and you're just going to think of one of these cards. So I want you to remember the first card you see, and what this does is they now are going to indefinitely remember the face card, because at this moment in time there's a clear, definite instruction to remember the first card you see. But this gets reframed. So it's almost as if you mean to suggest that they've misunderstood or not like fully started to carry out your instructions. So you say, so just spread through, I'll look away, and I want you to just remember the first card you see. So you reiterate the instruction that came before, but they now put it all together and think, okay, he must have meant he wants me to spread through and then think of the first card I see from somewhere near the middle. So you go, so just think of the first card you see, so just spread through and think of the first card you see from somewhere near the middle. And when you've done this, I want you to close the deck. It's essential I don't see any of the faces, and shuffle the deck. So right now, they've got 2 cards in mind. They hand the deck back, and this is nice because this is kind of a free moment that gets misremembered. You say, so you've shuffled these. I was looking away, and at no point did I see the order of the cards. I haven't seen any of the faces. So because I don't know the order of the deck, there's no way I can know the card that you're thinking of now. You just spread through and just thought of one of these cards, and they'll agree with you there. So now you're in the perfect position. Everything's done, the work's pretty much over. So I would look at the spectator, and I'd say, just focus on this card. And then I go, be honest with me. You were thinking of another card before this, correct? And you get the yes. If they start to speak at this point, you just say, don't say anything else because I don't want to know your thought processes. And this ensures that you mute them so that they don't say, yeah, it's the card on the face of the deck. So you go, so don't say anything out loud. I don't want to know your thought processes, but you thought of one and then changed your mind. So you've actually got 2 cards in mind, yes? And this is the beautiful free moment you get. It seems like you know their thought processes at this point. So you say, okay, so seeing as there's 2 cards in play now, I wouldn't normally do it this way, but I want you to just change between the 2 cards that you've got in mind. And wherever you want to, I want you to just stop on one of these cards. Now this is where you can go 2 routes. If you want to just nail down on one card and end there, that's fine. You can say, whatever card you're on now, just jump back to the other one. And what this invariably does is it gets them to think of the least, they're more likely than not going to stop on the card that wasn't the face card, because that seems less obvious in their mind. So when you say jump back, you now get them back to your force card. But I actually prefer to do it this way, and this is where the one ahead comes in, because it allows you to get 2 thoughts for free, 2 for 2. So I'd say, okay, so just change between the 2 cards and just stop wherever you want. And I say, because there's 2 cards in play, just for everyone else, I want you to say out loud the card that you just stopped on. And this is your justification for having to ask, as in the one ahead, it needs a justification. Because that was one of the other problems with that method. And they will tell everyone that card, you say, okay, good. So I'm going to try to get 2 for 2 now. Just focus on the other card for me. So right now, whilst they're focusing on the first card, all you have to do is place down the card that you noted that was on the bottom of the deck. This one goes down. And right now, they name out loud the first card. So that gives you the card that you now have to take out of the deck, because you've already put the card that they pegged from the bottom of the card, from the deck, from the face of the deck, that's already down. And here there's a nice subtlety where I'd start to talk about the colour and the suit of the other card that's the force card. And here I just find the card that they've just said out loud. I place this down, and you've got this nice reveal now. You can say, so for everyone else, again, what was this card? They say it, and then you do the turnover, and you've got seemingly 2 for 2. So I feel like within the structure of this routine, the one ahead doesn't now feel like a weakness. In fact, I prefer the ending of getting 2 cards. And what would normally be thought of as an out is actually, for me, stronger. So this is a nice example of how a one ahead can be used to, in the right context, essentially. It shouldn't I don't think it should appear on its own because I think it can be quite transparent, but used in this sort of fashion, it can be a real strong way of getting more than one hit. So the other thing that I find is nice with the one ahead is when you use the idea of Kent and Neppers of changing the colour barrels of marker pens or using the wrong coloured cap on a Sharpie. So this means that you won't get the recognisable three billet situation that might cause the spectators to feel like they know how you're doing this or that they've seen it before. So you can actually just use one piece of paper now. And what you would do, for instance, if you were revealing a thought about a memory of a loved one or a name of a loved one, you could say, okay, I'm going to use an appropriate colour for this. So you would take out what the audience think of as the red pen. You uncap it and write this down. But naturally it'll be an oddment colour, a different colour once you actually use the pen, but the audience don't see what's written until the end. So this means that you can use three different types of colour and mismatch them with the prediction, and then so now the order they can be written out of order utilising the one-head principle, but the audience will feel like the colours correspond to the items that you wrote down, so that this becomes really fooling now because any sort of one-ahead methodology seems to be impossible in this manner. So, just to wrap up this episode, I'd like to quickly mention a few credits and additional sources where you can learn more about the fundamentals of mentalism. So, right away, the idea of using a centre tear and seemingly failing on the information in a pre-show-esque context is by a guy called Asher Wilson. This is, I don't think this is released anywhere, but I feel it's worth the credit because it's something that pros have heard about on the grapevine and been using. Another source is the mind reading lessons by my mentor Kenton Nepper. A few of the inspirations about changing the colour barrels of the pens and stuff comes from him, so I would suggest looking into his updates and uses for classic foundational mentalism techniques. Another source which is really cool is it's a free resource, and it's Bob Cassidy's 39 Steps to Mentalism, and within this is a list of books that he would personally recommend to learn about mentalism. So I think check that out, and then you should be able to find the books and learn about these things. Obviously, Corinda's 13 Steps to Mentalism is something that is recommended all the time, as well as Practical Mental Effects. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time. So whilst this download wasn't primarily meant to be me teaching the basics of mentalism, and it's really just meant to be my sideways approach on certain principles, I feel it's worth just mentioning a point on the one ahead section. So because you're going to be writing predictions at the wrong moment and writing something different to what the audience members think you're writing, and they can then they're going to be able to then subconsciously compare the two. It's important that you ensure that both predictions would be a relative length. So for example, if you were writing down a playing card because you're using that as the force that allows you to get one ahead with a name as the secondary piece of information, then you would be able to write it in this form. So you'd be able to write a number and then of, and then hearts. And for instance, if it was diamonds, you might want to leave off the of. So now you've got sort of an average length that you know in your mind that you're going to be writing down, so that when you then come to writing the name, you would then have to write it in its longest form. So for example, John would be Jonathan, or Jess would be Jessica. And it's just worthy bearing this in mind, because at the moment you're meant to be writing down the name, you're actually writing down the playing cards. So you want to make sure that the relative length is going to be roughly the same. Another thing as well, whilst I have gotten away with using a Sharpie with just the different cap on, I had to hide the barrel when I was actually using the pen behind a larger pad, and it was really just the pen cap that the audience members remembered. So I feel it's worth actually changing out the whole barrel, because with Sharpie pens, the colour of the pen is not only denoted by the cap on the pen, it's also denoted by the barrel portion of the
the pen as well. Another thing to do would be to research other marker pens that just, you know, have these that are all one colour in their casing, but you can just easily take out the insert of the nib and the ink section. So yeah, so that sort of wraps it up. Just before I go, there's another point I want to just highlight, and that's regarding the using the billet switch and then giving the dummy billet back to the spectator as a sentiment that's been written on the card and then folded. So the way of getting it, ensuring that they put this billet back into the exact same safe place that they put the other billet beforehand, is to use language such as this. So you'd say, I want you to put this away somewhere safe. You're already thinking of a place that's, you've already got a place that's safe in your mind. Yes, so just put it away there. And this just calls back to their memory of when you asked them to choose a safe place earlier to put the first original billet.